Okay, what's going on, everybody? We are here, we are live, and we are on time. Look at me setting up the stream for 11:30 a.m. and I actually started at 11:30 a.m. I want to thank you all for joining me today, man. If you can see and hear me clearly, please hit the one in a live chat. Please hit the one if you can see and hear me clearly. And as I'm waiting for the ones to come into the live chat, please, if you haven't already, hit that like button because that's the most important thing you can do for me on this channel. What it does is that it helps make sure that those who are subscribed to the channel will indeed get the notifications, and it also helps to push this video through the YouTube algorithm as well. Secondly, if you're new to the channel, or maybe you've been ghost watching this channel for quite some time now, watching my videos but not hitting the subscribe button, please do me a favor, right? Do me a favor. Normally I say do yourself a favor, but do me a favor and hit the subscribe button as well as the bell notification next to the subscribe button so you can be notified whenever I release a new video. And lastly, please make sure you share this video out on your social media platforms to your family and friends to inform them on this news and information. And yes, that does help to give me a slight boost in the YouTube algorithm as well. And lastly, please follow me on Telegram at TD Media Group. That is extremely important. I cannot explain enough how important that is to keep that line of communication open with us in this age of censorship. That is only going to amplify drastically if Kamala Harris does get into office. So my Telegram link is in the description box below. It'll be pinned in the comment section as well when the stream is over, and it's also pinned in the live chat above right now as we speak, or as I speak. And with the ones now coming in, let's get the stream started, man. Let's get the stream started. I need to lock my door real quick. I'm paranoid. The likeliness that somebody's going to come in here is very low, but just in case, right? You never know when the feds are going to come busting in. You never know when the censorship police is going to come busting in. But let's get into it. Let's get into it, man. There's a lot going on out here. There is a lot going on out here and a lot to cover. Obviously, you all clicked on today's video so we can get into and discuss how CNN abruptly interrupted and cut Donald Trump's live feed during his press conference. I believe it was in Mar-a-Lago yesterday, as he was speaking on the migrant crisis. We all know, or at least as I've stated numerous times over in the past, prior to the old switcheroo that happened between Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, I used to tell you guys all the time that in my opinion that the migrant crisis was Joe Biden's Achilles heel. And I still believe that that is the case for Kamala Harris, henceforth why they don't like to discuss it, and why Trump discusses it as much as he does, right? So before we get into that, though, we have to get into what's going on with the Dominion voting machines and ballot boxes, so on and so forth, because as it pertains to election integrity, there's just a lot happening. There's just a lot happening. So I want to get into that right now. First things first, right? Let's go back to the video that I released yesterday on a Chinese national foreign exchange student who was in Michigan going to college, right? He registered to vote and casted a vote in Michigan illegally, obviously, right? That's what happened. And what was interesting about that I didn't highlight in the moment was that the only reason that he got caught, oh yeah, and the vote's going to count as well. The vote's still going to count, even though they caught him. The vote will still count, and the vote counts still because they don't have a mechanism apparently of being able to retrieve the vote, even though it's as simple as a 1-to-1 ratio. Okay, we know what this guy did and that vote shouldn't count, so let's just remove one vote from the voter count. Apparently they just can't do that. They can't do that because the way things are set up in Michigan, it's set up in a manner in which when the vote is cast, it essentially becomes anonymous instantly. So because they can't directly retrieve his specific ballot, that means it just counts. It counts regardless. And what was interesting about that story I didn't highlight, that I wish I did at that moment, is that the only reason he was caught is because he essentially told on himself, right? He told on himself. Now, whether he did it out of guilt or some other reason, I don't know. Because what happened was once he casted the ballot, he wanted to get the ballot back. We don't know why he wanted to get the ballot back yet. The reason for that being is unknown. Once again, he is a Chinese foreign national. he just maybe just didn't know any better. He casted the ballot, and for reasons that we don't know right now, he wanted it back and thought that he can get it back. But that then rolled out a sequence of events that led to him getting caught. But my point is, before I transition out of that, is that he was only caught because he snitched on himself. That's the only reason he was caught. Chinese foreign national, registered to vote in Michigan, and then casted a ballot in Michigan as a non-citizen foreign exchange student. And he was only caught because he told on himself. If that's the case, Lord only knows what's really going on. And I'll leave that there. I will leave that there. But I do want to stay in Michigan for the moment, right? I do want to stay and remain in Michigan because as you can see here, let's pull this article up. Give me just a second. I don't know why the screen is white, but there you go. The screen should be, the article should be on your screen right now. Michigan says issue with Dominion machines will make voting inconvenient for some. Here we go. As I've been saying whenever I do these kind of stories, here we go with the foolishness. Let's get into this article right here. Let's dive into it. Michigan says issue with Dominion machines will make voting inconvenient for some. The article reads as such. The Michigan Department of State said Friday there is a known issue with some of its voting machines that will make it more inconvenient for certain people to cast ballots. All right, just a little inconvenient, that's all. A little inconvenient. Article continues to read, in a release, the department wrote that some of the terminals the state uses for people with disabilities present an error message if the voter does not cast a ballot in the way indicated at the beginning of the process. Voters must select the straight party option in the machines, which are owned by Dominion Voting Systems, if they want to cast all their ballots for members of one party, according to the state of department. Otherwise, the voter needs to select the desired candidate for each race, the release says. If the voter selects the straight party option, but casts ballots for candidates of different parties, the error message will appear, the department explained. Because of this programming issue, voters using Dominion ICX VATs will have to select either the straight party option if they wish to vote straight ticket, or vote for each race on the partisan selection of the ballot if they wish to split their ticket, the release reads. The State Department added that their voters who received the error message would have to deselect the straight party option and cast ballots in either of the two allowable ways. It is not possible to fix the issue since Election Day is less than 1 week away, according to the release. Although the issue will not stop people from voting or making their preferred selections, it will not change, and it will not change anyone's votes. It will make the process more inconvenient for some voters using the VATs, the department wrote. The issue will be corrected for further elections. So we'll take care of it next time around. Don't worry, we'll handle it next time around. Michigan Secretary of State Jocelyn Benson said in a press conference on Monday, she was unhappy to learn about this issue. She's a Democrat, isn't she? If I'm not mistaken. I think she's a Democrat. Yeah, she's hates to hear about this issue. So unfortunate. Let's hear what Jocelyn actually had to say, though. Let's get into what she thinks and feels about this situation with the Dominion voting machine. Let's hear it. Rewind it back just a little bit. The volume's going to be a little bit low. My apologies for that. Just try to turn the volume up to the best that you can and shove your earbuds in your ear.
Issues with the programming of the VATs with specifically from Dominion. Why was that only caught in the past few days, and why can't it be fixed? I saw the release.
Yeah, this is a nationwide issue with Dominion voter access terminals in the counties that use them. And the voter access terminals, of course, not all the machines, just the ones that are accessible, have an issue with the straight party voting and a programming issue that's, again, affected the machines nationwide. And I think all of us that use Dominion machines were unhappy to learn about this during the testing period and as early voting began. So we're working with Dominion to seek accountability on that front, and also are working with our clerks to ensure voters are aware of this programming issue that will require them to ensure they are voting every section on the ballot.
Do you think it's a bigger issue in Michigan because we do allow voters to cross over in ways that a lot of other states don't?
Because we have straight party. It's not struck me as I've talked to my other colleagues in other states. They're just as upset about it as we are. So, yeah, or surprised. Yeah.
She's so upset that she started laughing and goes, yeah, we're surprised. She had a Kamala Harris moment. She started cackling, and you know what that means when the cackling starts. You know what that means when the cackling starts, you know? Looked like her nose started to get a little bit bigger. You know, when the cackling starts, people's nose tend to grow, in my opinion. That's what it seems like to me. But, you know, once again, I do have to reiterate, and I do want to make this perfectly clear, right? Your votes will not be changed in the statement that was made here. I'll read it again, right? YouTube. Although the issue will not stop people from voting or making their preferred selections, and it will not change anyone's votes, it will make the process more inconvenient for some voters using the VATs. The department wrote, the issue will be corrected for future elections. You know, that's just 2024. It's a wrap. It is what it is. But in future elections, yeah, we'll take care of it. We'll take care of it. We'll take care of it. And she was just so surprised, so much so that she had to cackle like Kamala, just started laughing because she couldn't believe it. That's how surprised she is. And apparently all her DNC pals are very surprised also. But there is some good news, right? There is some good news, because what I want to do right now is travel back to Virginia. Many of you remember this story that I covered yesterday, coming out of Virginia with Governor Glenn Youngkin, right? I'm not going to read this whole thing on the screen right now, but I'm just going to quickly kind of paraphrase it for those of you who are not aware with this particular situation, right? Governor Youngkin in Virginia, what he did was he put in a process in which confirmed non-citizens in the state of Virginia would be removed from the voter rolls so that they could not vote. They have confirmed non-citizens, self-identified non-citizens who are on their voter rolls who could vote in this election, even though they shouldn't be on there to begin with. Well, he wanted to remove them off, right? But of course, surprise, surprise, the Biden administration, along with a civic and immigrants' right group, went to a federal court in Alexandria and essentially put a stop to it. Biden and an illegal immigrant organization, Open Borders organization, stopped it, right? So then what happened is that the state took it to the Fourth Circuit Court, but because that Fourth Circuit Court had two Obama-appointed judges and one Biden-appointed judge, well, guess what? Surprise, surprise. They were still able to stop the non-citizens from being removed from the voter roll. Well, then what happened afterward is that Governor Youngkin took it to the Supreme Court. And upon taking it to the Supreme Court said, listen, man, enough with the foolishness. You're going to let these folks remove these non-citizens off the voter rolls. They are confirmed, self-identified non-citizens who shouldn't have been on the voter roll to begin with. And yes, Governor Youngkin can remove them. And that's what he did. I do want to take a moment now to play a quick clip from what the governor had to say, Governor Youngkin had to say with this victory in Virginia. And this was a victory. This is a great victory for election integrity. It's a good thing, right? Well, CNN doesn't feel like it's such a good thing, but we'll get into that after this. But let's get into this victory out of Virginia.
Perfect. Anybody else? Okay, let me just now circle back. I'm very pleased with the decision out of the Supreme Court this morning that provides a stay on the injunction to put 1,600 people back on the voter rolls who did self-identify as non-citizens. And, well, of course, that just provides further comfort across the Commonwealth that this election will be secure, it will be accurate, it will reflect the will of the voters, and the work that has gone on by our great elections teams in order to provide that is a first stop for me to say thank you to all the teams on the ground. But on top of that, I'll just reiterate, we have paper ballots, we have counting machines, not voting machines. They're not connected to the internet. We have tremendous custody rules and laws about how the ballots are handled. We have clean voting rolls in Virginia. And I encourage everyone, go out and vote. Make your voice heard. It is the single most important criteria of being a citizen in the Commonwealth of Virginia and America, and that is to cast a ballot for those that represent you in government. So go out and vote.
And what do you say to those voters who say they were improperly removed from the rolls, that they are qualified?
Yes, so go register and vote. And the great thing about the process that we have undertaken now for 18 years is that if there was a mistake, then the person is granted 14 days to respond and say, no, I am a citizen. And if they fail to do that and they are removed from the voter rolls, you can still same day register and cast a ballot. And so you are never precluded as a citizen of America and Virginia from voting. And that's why I encourage everyone, go vote. It's so important.
Round of applause to the governor of Virginia, right? No one is being excluded that shouldn't be excluded. If by some chance you were accidentally removed, but you are a citizen, you can register the same day and vote the same day if that was indeed the case, to the degree that that may be the case, because accidents do happen. It's minimal. The overwhelming majority of that 1,600 were non-citizens who should be removed. But if you are a citizen, you can register the same day and vote the same day if you find out that you were removed accidentally. So no problems there, unless you are on the DNC payroll. Unless you are part of the propaganda machine, which is the mainstream media, right? Now there's an issue. Now there's a problem, because apparently on CNN, they're extremely upset with this. Now, I haven't watched this clip yet. Normally, I like to watch these videos before I play them, but I came across it, stumbled across it on X, you'll call it, formerly known as Twitter, right before the stream started. And I was a little bit beside myself, because, why would anybody be upset about this, right? Why would you be upset? But let's find out why. Let's get into what CNN has to say about this victory coming out of Virginia.
Now, the Supreme Court is allowing Virginia to purge suspected non-citizen voter registrations. This is a big decision from the Supreme Court, just came in moments ago. I want to go straight to CNN's Paula Reed. Paula, what can you tell us?
Jim, this is incredibly significant because this is one of the court's first significant decisions ahead of next week's election. Here, they are allowing the state of Virginia to continue with a program that will purge suspected non-citizens from its voter registration.
It's not suspected non-citizens. They are confirmed non-citizens. They are confirmed non-citizens who self-identified as non-citizens. You see how deceitful these people are? These people are so deceitful. They are not suspected. They are confirmed self-identified non-citizens that were cross-checked with the federal database as well.
Registration rolls. And this is a bit of a surprise because the trial court and the appellate court sided with the Biden administration. Those
judges which were appointed by Obama and Biden. I'm not going to just let this play where they're going to talk nonsense. I'm going to fact check these guys. Okay. Those judges that put a stop to what Governor Youngkin was trying to do, it was 2 Obama appointed judges and a Biden appointed judge. Okay.
Objected to this
Now I'll rewind it back just a little bit and I'll let it rock.
administration roles. Now, this is a bit of a surprise because the trial court and the appellate court sided with the Biden administration that objected to this purge, saying that the state cannot, under federal law, remove large groups of people from the voter rolls within 90 days of an election, though there is nothing stopping them from investigating individual voters and removing them from the voter rolls. Now, former President Trump has seized on this issue in Virginia, as have other Republicans, as a way that they should be able to remove suspected non-citizens, calling it sort of a common sense move. And here a court divided across partisan lines, siding with Republicans. Now, Governor Youngkin, who is implementing or attempting to implement this program, he has issued a statement saying, quote, "This is a victory for common sense and election fairness."
It is a victory for common sense and election fairness. I mean, I don't understand what the problem is. And I like how she said this is a court divided by partisan lines in which the Republicans won. Okay, then if that's the case, then when you were talking about the appellate courts earlier, why didn't you say that those courts were partisan courts divided by were courts divided by partisan lines, to which it benefited the Democrats? Because the judges in the Fourth Circuit Court, 2 were appointed by Obama and 1 was appointed by Biden. So they don't want to highlight that it was swung in the way of Democrats because of the judges that they put into place. They want to act like when they went to the Fourth Circuit Court, they want to pretend like everything was just simply on the up and up, and Governor Youngkin lost the appeal because it was just the law. It was just the law being upheld. You know, no harm, no foul. But that's not the case. Democrats blocked him. Biden blocked him. And then when they took it to the Fourth Circuit Court, Obama and Biden judges blocked him. Now, when you got to the Supreme Court, okay, Republican judges said, hey, no harm, no foul. This is just common sense. And now they're crying like victims on CNN, pretending as if somebody did something wrong to them, while misrepresenting the entire story overall. Right. But once again, this was a great victory for the state of Virginia and the governor of Virginia as well, just concerning election integrity. This is just common sense stuff that should happen. Now, on a lighter note, before we get to the meat of what I wanted to discuss, I want to shift over to the Cartoon Network, also known as MSNBC, the parody news channel, that I don't know why it's even on television as a mainstream media news network, because it isn't. It's a parody news channel. They don't do real news at MSNBC. But as we all know, right now, Harris is in a lot of trouble. I didn't think that this was going to be as big of a deal as it became, right? But that whole statement that Biden made concerning Trump supporters being garbage has really turned around to become a spoiler for Kamala Harris, right? That was a real spoiler for her, as she thought she was going to coast to the election on a relatively high note. A high note meaning coming off of the spin job they were able to do based off the joke that was told by the comedian at the Trump rally in Madison Square Garden, right? So anyways, Biden messed that up, calling Trump supporters garbage. Donald Trump seized on that moment. I believe it was in Michigan, where he pulled up in Michigan in a garbage truck. He pulled up in a garbage truck and seized on that moment for publicity. And since then, you know, the DNC media on CNN and MSNBC, they've been doing a spin job in order to kind of explain away what Biden really meant. Now, if you remember the video that I released yesterday covering this, there was a man on CNN who apparently had to deal with a stutter his whole life. And because he has dealt with stuttering his whole life, he can hear when there's supposed to be an apostrophe in a word. I've never heard of that before. I'm unaware of you being able to hear apostrophes or being able to even hear periods and commas and exclamation marks and parentheses. I didn't know you could hear these things, but apparently he can hear the apostrophe in after the S when Joe Biden said supporters, right? Meaning, what matter of fact, I'm just gonna play it for you. I didn't want to play it because I didn't want to take up too much time, but it's so stupid. I'm just gonna play it right now. Let me pull this video up because I'll let him. He can tell it better than I can explain it. Let me pull this up.
With certain demographics.
Okay, let's just get to this guy right here. This is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard in my life. Okay, here we go.
To be for his vice president.
I don't know that I would expect this president to be everywhere in this moment. I mean, look, a critical element, any coach will tell you, any CEO will tell you, a critical element of running a team and winning is assessing the strengths and weaknesses of your team members and making sure you allocate them in the right way. Joe Biden has never been a big arena speaker. He's never been the most fluid speaker. And by the way, as someone who had a stutter growing up, it's very obvious to me that there's an apostrophe at the end of supporters there. He was referring to the garbage spewed by supporters, not simply the supporters themselves. But
how can you hear the apostrophe? It was very clear that there was an apostrophe there. How is it very clear that there was an apostrophe after the S? How is that possible? Like A. Hill said, he's grammatically anointed. This man is grammatically anointed because you can clearly hear the apostrophe after the S. I didn't know that was possible. I didn't know something like that could actually be done. That is clearly a superpower. It's clearly a superpower. But this notion that you can hear an apostrophe in a statement that's being made now is something that I guess they're just really running with. Team DNC is pushing this narrative because what we're going to hear now, unless I heard wrong, but we're all going to find out together here on MSNBC, you know, which I like to call the Cartoon Network. They're running the same play. I guess you can hear apostrophes now. I didn't know that, but here's what they have to say on MSNBC.
Tell us about this apostrophe.
Tell us about this apostrophe. All right. Okay.
Kelly, first to you. Tell us about this apostrophe.
Well, I've had one my whole life, and it is never been more powerful than in a moment like this, where what they are trying to say is that the president was referring to the demonization being garbage from one prominent supporter, the comedian who appeared at the Madison Square Garden event for Donald Trump. If you look at about a minute's worth of the remarks from President Biden when he was speaking to Latino groups last night, that context appears more clear. Also, it's important to know that the president always has that battle against stuttering, and that seemed to be apparent in this as well. And clearly, this is a verbal gaffe that is problematic politically. The question for voters to decide is the president's intent here to somehow say something critical about supporters of President Trump, or was it about the supporters that we know exist, this comedian and others who were demonizing?
She is jumping through hoops and hurdles to explain away Donald Trump to explain away Joe Biden calling Donald Trump supporters like myself garbage. I'm not even following what she's saying anymore. I'm not following what she's saying at all. This is craziness. We're hearing apostrophes now, and I'm just gonna let her finish out and let her explain. I don't know what she's talking about.
Puerto Ricans. We're left in a position now, as anyone who looks at this, to make their own assessment. One other context clue is that the president came out quickly and used social media posts to say what he was intending to say, and that any other inference.
Did she say that Joe Biden was using context clues? He was using context clues when he was in the middle of just speaking? How do you do that when you're the one doing the talking? You're the one that's doing the talking.
social media post to say what he was in text clue is that the president came out quick. We're demonizing Puerto Ricans. We're left in a position now, as anyone who looks at this, to make their own assessment. One other context clue is that the president came out quickly and used social media posts to say what he was intending to say, and that any other inference is not what he intended, that he was trying to be critical of the demonization of Puerto Ricans and not some sort of a broadside against Trump's supporters. It all matters because it plays into a concern that certainly supporters of President Trump and the MAGA movement believe is liberals thinking poorly of them broadly.
I mean, they do think poorly of us broadly. I mean, if you all remember, it wasn't that long ago at the Republican National Convention when Joy Reid called black men like myself who will be voting for Trump. Joy Reid called us white adjacent incels. I don't know if you all knew this, but outside of the fact that I'm a Russian bot powered by artificial intelligence and ChatGPT, outside of that, I am also a white adjacent incel, which is crazy. It's crazy, but yeah, I'm a white adjacent incel. But yeah, the cope is crazy. The cope is out of this world. And for those of you who have been supporting and contributing via super chat, I'm going to read the super chats off at the end of the stream. Don't think I forgot about you. I appreciate you all and thank you very much for support. And also please hit the like button if you haven't already. Now what I want to transition to next in closing, I want to transition over to Donald Trump's press conference that he had at Mar-a-Lago yesterday. And he was hammering away on the migrant crisis and how it's Kamala Harris's fault, so on and so forth. Well, in the middle of the press conference, that was broadcasting live on pretty much every major mainstream media news network, CNN cut the stream off right before Jocelyn Nungaray's mother. And Jocelyn Nungaray was a 12-year-old girl whose life was snatched from her by Harris's migrants, right? Right before she was able to speak through a Trump ad that he played, CNN cut the feed to do some just kind of frivolous fact checking. Now, all of a sudden, we want to fact check. We all know that Harris and Walls are angelic beings from heaven that never misspeak or tell a lie or anything. So there's never anything to fact check when you're talking about Harris and Walls. They were sent down from heaven by God, right? But whenever it comes to Trump, especially when he's really about to nail a point home concerning the migrant crisis and Kamala Harris, time to fact check. We're going to have to cut this feed off. We're going to have to cut the live feed off, and I believe it was not that long ago too, where I covered, I don't remember if it was CNN or MSNBC, but I feel like it was CNN once again, where in the middle, it was another press conference where they just abruptly cut to commercial when, he was getting ready to say something. Once again, that was pretty damning to the Harris campaign. They said, we got to go to commercial abruptly, in the middle of the press conference. But let's play this. I want to get into this right now. Let's play this feed or this video here where CNN abruptly cut off Donald Trump's feed to do some fact checking.
Take a look at Venezuela. Their crime is way, way, way down. Then you go to Caracas and you wouldn't recognize it. You can actually walk the streets without being shot or killed or mugged. It's becoming a safe city because they've taken all their criminals. Most of them, the rest are coming. They're all coming. They've taken their drug dealers and they've put them into the United States of America. Thank you very much, Kamala. I appreciate it. But she continues, and she will continue this misery, and her policies have caused such harm and such pain. And the three great people up here with me are going to just discuss that for a little while about what's happened to them, how their lives have been shattered. I'd like to begin with the story of one mother whose life Kamala has utterly destroyed this life. And we're talking about thousands of people in very similar situations every day under Kamala, open border policies. And if you remember, Joe Biden appointed her as the border czar.
We're going to dip out of Donald Trump's remarks there. He is making a number of false claims, so we want to interrupt what he is saying for.
So, and like my man Rob said, you know, that's cold. They cut the feed during Jocelyn's mom speaking. They cut it off right before we got to actually see her, or we got to actually watch the video, the ad of her speaking. And it's very sad. It's very sad, especially if you have a child like I do. Jocelyn was 12 years old. My son is around the same age. He's 11. You know, so when you see and hear stories like this, they kind of hit you a little bit different. You know what I mean? You actually really, you feel it, and it does hurt to watch. So now what I want to do is that I want to play the remainder of Trump's press conference, in which Jocelyn Nungaray's mother spoke via the ad. And this is what CNN didn't want you to see, because, I mean, once again, they are the propaganda wing of the DNC, working on behalf of Kamala Harris, as far as I'm concerned, in my opinion. I assume. And yeah, they cut the feed right in time so that you couldn't see this. So let's watch this video. Let's watch this clip here that CNN did not want you to see.
Men and women, Border Patrol, great people. They want to do their job. She didn't call them once. She released the two men who murdered this woman's very precious daughter.
That's another thing, too, for those of you who are unaware with this story. These aren't guys that have been here for years, right? These were two illegal immigrants that literally, they were in the country roughly for like around 2 to 3 weeks and then did what they did.
Everything you need to know about what happened and the character of Kamala Harris, you'll know from just watching this video. We had it done yesterday. It's very, very quick, very easy to do, but it was very heartbreaking. We showed it in a room full of people, and everybody was crying. Some pretty tough people were crying. Please take a look.
Sunday night, I asked her to not stay up super late because of her coming to work with me in the morning first to do her summer school. She said, okay. I told her good night and I love you. I went to bed, not realizing that that was going to be the last time I saw her.
We're best friends. Yeah. We're going to shake it again.
I woke up to notice she wasn't in her bed. I'm in my heart trying not to lose my mind because I don't know where she is. I finally remembered her phone had a location on, and her phone was pinging just 2 minutes down the road, right behind the skate park. I start driving to the direction the phone was being pinged at, and I see a couple cop cars with lights on. I see yellow tape, and immediately my heart drops and sinks to the bottom of my stomach. My daughter's hands and ankles were both bound. She was strangled to death, left with no pants. And I know in my heart, she fought incredibly hard. She was not going down without a fight.
We begin with 2 men we're learning are charged with capital murder tonight, accused of killing a 12-year-old girl.
Police say these men strangled her before dumping her into that creek. Both men were in the country illegally.
Apprehended, then released by Border Patrol less than 3 weeks before Jocelyn's death. The men accused of killing Jocelyn Nungaray are affiliated with the gang known for brutal violence.
Kamala Harris was in charge of immigration in our borders. If we had better border policies and not open borders and not these catch and release policies, I truly believe this all could have been prevented. Under her being vice president of this country, my daughter's life was ripped away from her. She had her entire life ahead of her. Happy birthday, dear Jocelyn. My daughter is 6 feet in the ground based off of policies that she allowed to keep. Kamala Harris did have one job, and she not only failed, not me, she failed my daughter. She failed Jocelyn. You know, she was only 12. President Trump reached out, gave me his sincerest condolences as not a former president, but just as a father, someone who cares. I believe Donald Trump needs to be back in office. I can at least know that my next child will be safe in this country.
So that's what CNN didn't want you to see. They didn't want that part to be played. So instead they said, hey, you know, let's just cut the feed off now to do some kind of frivolous fact checking on Donald Trump, because why would we want to play something like this? That is very, very sad. And to date, you know, Kamala Harris hasn't issued any type of real apology. There was the kind of forced apology when she was on Fox News being interviewed by Brett, where, if you remember, he forced an apology out of her, but it was a very angry apology. If you all remember, it was an angry one. She didn't want to talk about it. She hated to hear about it. You know, she was like, of course I'm sorry. You know, that's not an apology, even though at this stage in the game, an apology doesn't really mean too much of anything once the life is lost. But you would think that that's the least that you can do, especially when you're trying to win an election. But her mother couldn't even really get that. Couldn't even get that. She got an angry apology that was forced by Brett, but not a real, genuine, sincere one, because she's not sorry. And that's just the reality. She's not sorry. She's not sorry at all. So we'll see how things continue to play out. We'll see how things continue to play out. That does it for today's stream. It does it for today's show. Please hit the like button if you haven't already. Follow me on Telegram. That is extremely important that you do that, okay? The link to my Telegram is in the description box below, and it's pinned in the live chat and will be pinned in the comment section after the stream is over. Now let's get into the super chats. Let's get into the super chats, man. Let's get into the people that showed love, because I cannot exit the show without showing love back to those who showed love to me. Famously Blacker said, we appreciate your platform. Keep going. Black Media Rules. I appreciate you, Famously Blacker. Thank you very, very, very much. Shout out to my man, Papa Onaya Shelley, who said, imagine if they 2022'd this one too. That 2020 magic. All right, I haven't said that in a while, but for those of you who don't know the phrase that I came up with, 2020 magic, 2020 magic is when, you know, one candidate is leading the race all night long. And then, you know, you go to bed thinking to yourself, yeah, that candidate clearly is going to win. And then when you wake up in the morning, alakazam, the other candidate just miraculously won overnight, you know? The other guy was leading heftily. It was pretty much over. Done deal. Went to bed, woke up. Surprise. 2020 magic. Guess who's president? We'll see if that 2020 magic is used this time around. I hope not. I hope not. I hope not. Like you said, imagine if they 2022 this one. Things will get interesting, to say the least. Opinions that I won't share on YouTube. Opinions that I won't share on YouTube, but I appreciate you, Shelly. Shout out to my man Saul, who always keeps my family fed. He said, fun fact, I read the body language book. Our nostrils swell up when lying. Is that true? So when lying, the nose does grow. The nostrils swell up when you're lying. That's interesting. I got to look into that a little bit more. In the body language book, did they say anything about cackling? Did they say anything about cackling? That's what I want to know about. Did they say that when you cackle, it means you're lying? That's what I'm trying to figure out. Shout out to my man Cutthroat Rod. He said, what exactly is a voter roll? A voter roll is just simply the database upon which people like you and me that are registered to vote are on. That's all. That's it. Just a database of voters. That's what it is. And like we were talking about earlier in Virginia, you had 1,600 non-citizens, self-identified non-citizens verified through the federal database that were non-citizens who were on the voter roll in Virginia, and the governor was able to successfully remove them with the help of the Supreme Court, because Biden and his appointed judges, as well as 2 Obama appointed judges, were doing their best to block that from happening. Shout out to John Guller. He says, support Black men media since we are the problem, according to Bash, all Black men media agents. Bash all Black men media agents. Oh yeah, we're the problem. Like, I mean, once again, what did Joy Reid call people like me again? White adjacent incels. You know, I'm a white adjacent incel. Apparently that's what I am, and we are the biggest problem. Dolomite fan number 1 said, if Trump wins, the Dems will confuse to, I think you meant to say, will refuse to concede and keep things tied up for months before Trump takes office. In my opinion, I do think that we're not going to find out who wins for a while. We're not going to find out who wins for a while. This is going to be tied up. This election results are going to be tied up for a minute. They're going to be tied up for a minute. I can't say how much time will pass. I don't know. But in my opinion, it'll probably be over a week. It'll probably be over 7 days before we get an official winner. That's just what I think. That's just what I think. But we'll see. We'll see how that plays out. And then once an official winner is announced, well, then where do you go from there, right? Lawsuits and this, that, and the third. It's going to be crazy. It's going to get crazy. It's going to get crazy. Papa Onaya Shelley said, they explaining all of that, but when Trump says he's going to protect women, they call him sexist. They tearing bigly. I heard about that. I didn't look into it though. Yeah. So did Trump say, I'm going to protect all women? And they were like, you misogynist, sexist. You think you can protect women? Like, wait, what? He's getting bashed over the head for apparently not protecting women. And then when he says he's going to protect women, you're a sexist. Okay. Shout out to SB TV said, what up, TV? Missed most of the show. I mean, you can catch it on the replay, man. You can catch it on the replay. I appreciate you guys for showing me love today. Once again, hit the like button on your way out. Subscribe to the channel if you're new to the channel. Oh, I almost forgot about my main man, Untried Genius. He said, I'm just glad we won't have white supremacists coming from the hills once Trump wins. Exactly. For those of you who don't know, Untried Genius is referencing the madness of Maxine Waters on MSNBC when she said that Trump has extremists currently training in the hills to descend down upon communities of color to pew us if he loses. Crazy, I know, but once again, that's only on MSNBC where madness like that is spewed. So once again, man, hit the like button on your way out. Subscribe to the channel if you're new to the channel. Share this video on your social media platforms, and also, once again, Telegram, please. Telegram at TD Media Group. The link to my Telegram is in the description box below and pinned in the comment section as well. And follow me on Rumble as well. I'm simulcasting on Rumble. Do that also. That's also very important. I'll catch you guys later, man. Peace and have a great afternoon.